to All Things STEM with Ashley. Today I have our guest Aliyah Gibbs here. We're super excited to have her. Aliyah Gibbs, confidence, charisma, and a touch of glam. Aliyah Gibbs is a public speaker, software engineer, and personal development specialist dedicated to helping individuals and organizations achieve their goals through strategic growth and leadership. As the founder of Aliyah B Consulting, she delivers workshops, keynotes, and coaching sessions that focus on personal development, career advancement, and leveraging technology for success. Through her signature workshops, including Work Smarter, Not Harder, Supercharge Your Success with Generative AI, and Your Future Starts Now, From College to Your Dream Career, Aliyah equips audiences with practical and actionable strategies. Her expertise spans topics such as goal setting, effective communication, personal branding, and the integration of AI technologies to enhance productivity. Aliyah's work with AI is rooted in making complex technologies accessible and applicable to real-world challenges. As a software engineer in the aerospace industry and a master's student in artificial intelligence at the University of Texas at Austin, she focuses on natural language processing, deep learning, and ethical AI applications. Her passion lies in helping individuals and organizations understand how AI can drive efficiency, innovation, and informed decision-making across industries. Her personal mantra, confidence, charisma, and a touch of glam, reflects the dynamic energy she brings to every session. So today, we welcome Aliyah Gibbs. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you here today and learn just a little bit about your journey and really what got you into software engineering, which later got you into AI.
Yes.
So I want to start with how you got into the STEM industry and what initially started your journey in STEM.
Yes, so when I was a kid, I was always the tech savvy one. So anytime we got a new device that was like electrical, whether it was Wi-Fi or like a gaming system, I was always the person who wanted to figure out how to set it up without reading the instructions. And so my parents would always come to me whenever the Wi-Fi wasn't working. And so I just was always tech savvy. And so I remember when I got my first iPhone, I did not like how the messages were blue and green. Being that pink is clearly my favorite color, I wanted to use a phone that was pink on the inside. And
Right.
so I had this dream of wanting to get into a field where I could create cell phones because I felt like we should be able to customize how our phones look on the inside and not be stuck to like a standard blue and green, especially if that's not our favorite color.
Yeah.
And so when I was in high school one day, my teacher was like, Bill Gates is hiring software engineers who get their PhDs for $250,000. So when you're in 11th grade, you know, $250,000 is a lot of money.
Yes,
and I like money.
Yeah.
And I'm tech savvy, so I started looking up, you know, what kind of degrees make like cell phones. And so that's how I found computer engineering, electrical engineering. And from there, I decided that when college was coming around, I was trying to figure out like, what am I going to get my major in? Because, you know, that's a huge decision to make I was 16.
Right.
When I had to make that decision, I decided that I was going to take a computer programming class at school.
Yeah.
And so I ended up taking that course, and I actually was taught that class by a black woman. She also got her degree at an HBCU, so it was South Carolina State because I'm from North Carolina.
Right.
So that class, I loved it, even though we didn't really code, but I think we were using like Visual Basics back then.
Yeah.
So it was my first time getting that kind of experience with computer programming,
Mm-hmm.
and so I loved it. And so that's how I ended up choosing that major, and the rest was history. And I remember when I was in college, I went my first lab that I had,
Right.
we had to code, and we didn't even have class yet.
Yeah.
And so imagine I was expected to have a working program done on day one of classes, and I never coded before, but for me, I was like, as long as I'm not the last person to get it done, like that's what I was looking for. So I ended up not being the last person to get the coding done, and it was in Java. And I was able to get my work done and leave before class was over.
Good.
So the rest has been history since then. So that's kind of how I figured out my interest in STEM.
I love that. So the teacher that you said taught you that software class, where was that? That was
in
school,
high
college.
school. So
Oh,
I
that's
took
nice.
that my first semester of senior year.
Gotcha. Perfect. Well, thank you for that. My next question is about, can you share any role models or mentors that you had in the STEM field during your journey?
So in college, I would say one of my role models, or maybe more so inspirations, was my godmom. So when I was in college, I didn't have any mentors. You know, I'm a first generation engineer, and my parents weren't in corporate America either, so they didn't know kind of how to navigate those ropes. So I was kind of figuring out everything on my own, but I didn't get any internships during college. So it was really difficult for me at times because I'm like, why am I trying so hard in class and busting my butt to get these grades and I can't get an internship?
Yeah.
But I didn't have mentors.
Right.
So it was like my godmom who I would always go to during that time to kind of vent to.
Yeah.
And she would always tell me, you know, you're going to have multiple full-time job offers when you graduated. And even though I didn't believe that initially because I thought that I had to have internships in order to get hired. And to me, I was like, if I can just get an internship or a co-op after graduation, because I wasn't ready to go to grad school. I wasn't, back then, you know, GRE was mandatory versus now it's not.
Yeah.
So I was nowhere near equipped to study for that exam. So I really had no clue what I was going to do. And she just always believed that, like, you're going to get that big time opportunity when you're done. And so when I went to that career fair spring semester of my senior year, I actually ended up getting 2 full-time job offers.
That's excellent.
So it's like all that insight that she kind of was pouring into me and hope throughout my 4 years, like she ended up being right, even though I couldn't see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I just, you know, they make you feel like you have to have an internship in order to get a job.
Right.
And so despite not having that internship, I was able to kind of look for other opportunities and projects. So I was still able to showcase that I was a leader without that experience.
I love that. And that's good to know because it is scary if you don't have those internships. It's like, well, how do I have experience to go into the workforce or to have those STAR method stories to say, well, I've done this with a team. Because really, we only did a senior project as a group project for me in undergrad. That's the only group experience some people might have to talk to. So that's really good. And it's good that you have mentors, and that's like what this is about, like explaining you do need a mentor. You can find one and how to attain one. But you were lucky because your godmother was one, so.
Yeah.
That's good.
Like, I didn't, so she wasn't a technical mentor, but she was still somebody that I could go to for guidance. So.
That's so good, Aliyah.
Thank you.
So next I wanted to say, what inspired your, well, you already spoke on this. You talked about why you picked software engineering. So now we'll go into how now you've dipped into artificial intelligence as well. So what springed your interest in artificial intelligence once you were already in software? I know you talked about making iPhones and great things like that. But what helped you say, I want to even go deeper into software and look into artificial intelligence?
Yes. So this all started because I guess once I moved to Dallas, I became kind of bored in life. 'Cause, you know, it's like when you get a job, like you go to work and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's like if you don't have any hobbies or you're not doing anything and like making some type of, you know, no community involvement, like it can be boring. So I literally would just go to work and go to the gym. Like I was bored. And so I just knew that like eventually I will be married and I'll have children. So I knew that I was never going to get this period of boredness again. So I was like, let me maximize this empty time that I have and go get my master's degree. Especially since, you know, my corporation pays for it. It's like, why wouldn't I? And then being that you can leverage your master's degree to get promoted and it allows you to be a subject matter expert in a field. Like it just made sense since I realized how bored I was to go get that degree. And so I looked into the technology trends because that's one thing you should do, right? You shouldn't, I think if you're going to go into a field, do the research and see.
Do the research.
Yes, do the research and go see where the trends are in that career path because you want to make sure there's longevity in where you go. So you don't want to get into something that can only last for like 2 years because that doesn't make any sense. So you want to see that whatever industry you're going into has at least 5 to 10 years of expected growth. And so when I looked into the tech trends, I saw cybersecurity, which is a big one, data science, and I seen artificial intelligence, and then I saw the cloud. So initially I wanted to be a cloud engineer, but when I thought about it, it's the cutting edge technology that gets me excited.
Yeah.
It's the innovation. I used to be obsessed with Internet of Things and like the interconnectivity and making like smart houses.
Yeah.
So to me, I felt like with the cloud, I couldn't do that like high tech innovation that I was looking for. But with AI, I felt like the possibilities were endless.
Yeah.
And so I felt like there's AI in everything, right?
Right.
Your cell phone, finance, education. It's in so many different industries. And so that's what attracted me the most to AI.
Good. I love that. I'm learning about her as you all are learning. So, such a great story of how you got interested in STEM. I wanted to ask if you could please give a general overview of what artificial intelligence is for those that may not know or just want to learn more about it.
Yes. So from a high level, artificial intelligence refers to the development of computer systems that mimic human intelligence.
Okay.
So it should be able to it does do problem solving, decision making, and like task based things.
Yeah.
So that's what it is from a high level.
That's good. Thank you. So now I want to get into generative AI. I want to ask, what are some current real-world applications of generative AI and how are they transforming different industries right now?
Yes, so I would say one of the most popular generative AI tools that I think everyone's heard of at this point is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one personally. However, they also have Microsoft Copilot, which you can access. It's embedded with Bing through the search engine. And Google also has Google Gemini as well. So I believe if you are on Google and you're using their search engine, Gemini is embedded into it. And I also know if you have the latest iPhone with the iOS, I think 16, it has ChatGPT enabled. So I believe if Siri can't answer the question, it will automatically connect to Chat.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, so.
Thank you for that. So next I wanted to ask, what challenges do we face currently in developing and deploying generative AI tools efficiently and effectively?
Yeah, so I would say one of the biggest challenges with the development of AI is the ethics behind AI. Since AI is a new field, a lot of things haven't been ironed out. There's no laws because it's like, who do you hold accountable when someone misuses AI?
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing is who do you hold accountable, right? With people making these deep fakes of celebrities, which for those who might not know what the term deep fake is, it means like you might have taken a video clip or maybe an image and then you use artificial intelligence to alter that video. So that is what deepfake is, and so they have some inappropriate content that's out there with celebrities that people are using AI.
Right.
So I think that's one of the biggest things is for the people who are misusing these tools.
Yes.
So it's like, who do you hold accountable? Do you hold the person who misused the tool accountable, or do you hold the person who created the tool accountable? So it's like,
it's hard.
I think that's what it is, and since with like software engineering, right, we don't really have a lot of laws in place similar to like doctors and lawyers. There's no type of documentation that we have to sign or any insurance involved. Right. So it's really hard to kind of hold people accountable with some of the development of AI because sometimes it can be misused.
Thank you. That's good. That's good. So how do we ensure that generative AI tools are accessible and usable to people that are not tech experts?
So I would say the first thing is to explain to people what like generative AI actually is.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people you might use chat, but if you don't understand how it works behind the scenes, I think it causes people to misuse the tool. So with those machines, especially when it comes to natural language processing, which is what ChatGPT uses, as well as machine learning and reinforcement learning. So those tools, their job is to create the most accurate prediction based on the next sequence in words. So therefore, it does not know if the information it's giving you is actually correct. It doesn't know. It just knows that this is the most accurate prediction. And so when you tell people that, I feel like it allows people to know that I need to fact check this information, because once you know the limitations of the tool, I think that allows people to use it correctly. Then also what I tell people is when you're talking to the generative AI tool, act as though you're having a conversation with a human being, right? Think about it. When I'm talking to you, the first time I tell you something, you might not understand me, right? You might misunderstand me, just like a tool can. And so look at it like a conversation. So if you don't get the output that you were looking for when you first prompt it again, you know, refine your prompt. You can even go and edit the original prompt if you would like to. So it's kind of like guide it and give it constructive feedback and work with it to kind of get the answer that you want. So I think when people realize that, and if you think about, look at it, they design these generative AI tools to look like you're having a conversation. They look similar to the chat boxes if you have talked to the chat boxes on those websites, and it's purposely like that because they want you to feel as though you're having a conversation.
That's good. That's great insight. Okay. So now we're going to get into getting into the field of AI. So I want to ask, for someone interested in AI, where should they begin in terms of learning and skill development?
Yes, so one of my favorite tools that I've used, although I am in grad school, I've still had to kind of self-learn some of these concepts. So I would recommend DataCamp. I do know some of the trainings on that platform are free, and then some do cost. But some institutions and corporations will do partnerships with these companies to where you can get the licensing for free. So I would definitely check that out and see what your corporation offers, as well as universities, because the universities do pay for online learning platforms for their students. So look into that. Ask your advisors. But DataCamp is one of my favorite coding websites. It's all things related to data. So even if maybe you're not interested in artificial intelligence, but you're interested in data science, they have those type of trainings on that platform. And one of the things that I like the most about it is the fact that you don't have to use like Visual Studios or another coding IDE. You can do all of the coding on that tool online. So it really helps you, and then like you can do a streak similar to like Duolingo, you get points. And then if it is a corporation thing, you can kind of compete against your coworkers to see like where you're at on the rank based on how many points that you have. So that's been really helpful for me. And I would definitely recommend, as far as programming languages go, you want to get Python down. And that's what you need to be proficient in, is Python if you plan on programming. And then I would familiarize yourself with PyTorch, because a lot of the model building coding leverages PyTorch. And I would look into learning about some of these large language models that exist and kind of learning how to train the models, because that's like a lot of the behind the scenes works, is their models that are creating those predictions.
Well, thank you. That was really great insight. So you already answered what programming languages and tools to know when starting AI. Can you get into what are some potential career paths that others can do when they get into AI and how they differ from each other a little bit?
Yes, so I know some of the career opportunities, like I said, my company offers, so I can talk about some of those job titles. So they have like an AI research research engineers. They have AI ML engineers. I think some companies hire for machine learning engineers, as well as like data scientists. So those are just some of the different names at the top. So I would say it just depends. I've also seen companies are hiring for AI software architects. And they're also looking for like AI systems engineers. And I even seen a generative AI project engineering role too. So that way, like, even if maybe you don't want to code, you can do like help with creating, I guess, AI projects and helping leading teams. So I think in the future, as AI becomes more of a prominent field, we'll have more defined AI roles, to where people who aren't trying to be the software or research engineers, they can still have that AI job title. So I think as time progresses, we'll have even more AI jobs out there.
I love that. We're going to kind of go back into your career journey. And I wanted to ask, what is one project or accomplishment that you are particularly proud of during your career in STEM?
So, well, career in STEM,
or it could be on your journey. It could be high school, college, career.
So I would say, honestly, my most, I guess, prized accomplishment would definitely have to be the public speaking business that I've managed to start. And I say that because 4 or 5 years ago, I would never imagine myself doing these kind of things. I've always been very introverted and behind the scenes. People know me for kind of just being quiet and to myself. So seeing me kind of blossom and grow into this public speaker has been such a phenomenal journey to witness. And I say that because not only do I get to learn so much information, because in order to be a public speaker I have to be knowledgeable, right? And so I'm on this like journey of learning. I love to learn between podcasts, books, YouTube videos, TED Talks, school, like mentors. Like I'm just literally just taking in as much information as I can. And so I feel so honored and blessed to be able to be on all of these different platforms and just sharing my insights with as many people as I can, because as somebody who did not have that guidance when I was in undergrad and trying to figure everything out on my own, it's so grateful to be able to give back now that I am a little bit further ahead and I've been able to accomplish some things. And just seeing the thousands of people that I've been able to
impact,
touch, impact, right? And being able to start to realize, like, you know, I have influence. You know, people actually take in what I say and take in my advice, and then they implement it. So it's like really beautiful to get to sit there and witness. And I can't tell you how I feel when I leave my events. You know, between my community service events, my public speaking events, the feedback that I get. There's no feeling on the world that I feel like makes me feel like that. So it's like one of those things where you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I was literally explaining this to my therapist today. Because I was telling her with this public speaking stuff, especially just due to some stuff, like I've lost one of my biggest platforms, which is totally okay. Because I know how to build it, I'm not starting over. And so I was telling her, I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing because there's not a lot of friction there, right? So the moment I get rejected in this opportunity, within maybe 24 hours, I'm getting a yes for another opportunity. And so I feel like that's how you know that you're supposed to be doing what you're doing, because it flows, it's easy. And the feedback is just that reassurance that this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, even when I might feel like I did not do my best at that event. But then when I go read the feedback and I see I got, 5+ stars as my rating, I'm just like, okay, like I was just in my head and I'm good at what I'm doing. So I'm starting to realize, like, I'm the real deal. So it's really beautiful to, I guess, get to witness your own evolution, but also give back along the way too.
I love that. And can you tell us a little bit about what started you to start that platform?
Yes, thank you. So it's funny because I actually got thrown into it. I did not want to do public speaking.
Really?
No. But I had came up with this idea at my job to do a public speaking panel. Because I realized when I was talking to some of my coworkers, I'm like, you don't have a career plan? Like, why don't you have a career development plan? Like, huh? And so it's like, when you have these meetings with mentors, like, you get all these insights, but then if my peers aren't getting these insights, how does that really benefit all of us? If only I'm finding this out. So I came up with this idea to put a panel together where I could have all leaders across the corporation speak on these panels on different career development topics that I was struggling with. And so that's how it started.
That's so good.
The first event that I had one of my friends who helped me put it together. They moderated the panel because I didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm not doing that, I did not want to do it. So he moderated it, and he was the face of my panel.
That's so good.
So a lot of people thought it was his idea. And so my mentor was like, don't ever do that again. She was like, if you're going to have an idea, then you need to be the face of your idea. And so I knew that meant that I had to step up and start moderating my panels. And so with the first event that we had 447 people.
That's so good.
And then the second one we had, it was like 340. And these were just the first two events. And so after that, like, I just got forced into it. And then I'm a perfectionist. So I was like, I started getting feedback. And there was things that I didn't like that I was doing. And so I started working on those and getting better at it. Then I went to a NSBE conference. That was outside of BEC. That was my first time going to a professional development conference when I went to the NSBE PDC conference. It was here in Dallas, so that's why I went. And then that's where I seen workshops done up front and in person for the first time. And so I was sitting in the room and I just was like, I want to lead a workshop.
I love that.
And so that was in August 2023.
Okay.
And so since then, I've done over probably 20 workshops. I've spoken at multiple conferences. I've gotten paid to speak. Yeah. And it just all started from there. Yeah. And so I'm really proud of myself.
So you got out of your comfort zone and got better with public speaking by doing it. Right?
Yes,
is that what we're hearing?
I did it. I didn't know what I was doing.
And practice,
even with the workshops. Yes, I do practice. I read books on public speaking. I listen to podcasts on public speaking. I had that free platform, so that did allow me to try a workshop, and if I didn't like it, or maybe there was something I could have done better, I would use it to tweak it. So by the time I did it, maybe at a conference, I had already done that workshop for smaller audiences a few times. Yeah. So I take the craft of public speaking very seriously, and I actually just joined Toastmasters. So if you guys are interested in growing your public speaking skills, you can join Toastmasters, which is an international organization. They have them all over. And you can join that club, and they'll teach you public speaking, and they will also help you build your leadership skills. So I highly recommend it, and it looks really good on your resume.
Yes, I love that. So how did you get the courage after you started doing it within your corporation to want to apply to be I'm going to speak at this conference? Do you just apply when they ask for speakers? Do you reach out to the people that make the conference? What is that next step for somebody?
So for the first conference that I submitted my workshops to was actually the NSB 50 convention. Okay. And initially with my mentor, so when I went to the NSB PDC and I got that idea that I wanted to lead workshops, I actually ended up leaving there with the mentor. Oh, good. Because I was so impressed with her workshop. I went up afterwards. She had her doctorate in engineering. And so I told her, I was like, I'm trying to be exactly where you are. Yeah. And so that's how we formed that mentorship relationship. So she actually told me that it was the time to submit those applications for the NSB convention. Yeah. So conferences usually will post on their social media when they're soliciting speakers. So I would say if that's something you're interested in, to stay up to date with their social media. Yeah. And usually it is around the same time every year that they drop them. So once you kind of are in the loop about it the first time, you'll be fine for the years to come. Mm-hmm. So she told me to go ahead and submit my abstracts for the NSB convention. Yeah. And I said no. I just came up with this idea, why would I go ahead and submit to a conference? I'm like, I need a year to practice. I'm not ready. Yeah. And so I shut it down. And so she respected that decision. She wasn't going to force me to do anything. Yeah. And so even though I knew I wasn't going to submit those workshops, I was so passionate about this idea that I had me a notebook and I was journaling different topics that I could turn into workshops. Yeah. So I remember I had 7, and my friend was like, well, if you got 7, then go ahead and get to 10. Yeah. So then I was at 10. Next thing you know, I had a list of 14 different topics. Right. And so when I was on Instagram, I happened to see that NSB was posting the pricing for the conference. So then I clicked on the Instagram, and I happened to see that the speaking deadline submissions for speakers actually was extended. Oh, and good. So because they extended it, I was still within that time frame to apply. Yeah. So something was I don't play about coincidences. Yes. Yeah. So I was like, there's no way that they happened to just extend this deadline, and I happened to catch it just in time. Yeah. So I ended up being that I had a list of 14 topics. I talked to a couple of my coworkers, got insights on, hey, which topics do you think are the most interesting out of this list? And so we picked the top 3. I went ahead and wrote up those abstracts and I submitted it, and they selected me. And so I would say I came up with that idea in August, and by the time March, I had already spoken at 2 conferences.
I love that. That is a beautiful story.
Thank you.
So for those that are watching, this is the blueprint. This is the blueprint. And I will be putting her business in our show notes, and whatever contact information she allows, I'll be putting it under the show notes. So if you have any questions, and if you don't mind, I'll get the list of books or podcasts that helped you with public speaking. Mm-hmm. And so we'll have those links down there. But thank you for sharing your story, because I'm sure it's other people that want to start. Right. And not everybody has that mentor. Not everybody has that access to go to conferences. So I'm glad you got to share that here.
Yeah. And it's a lot of stuff on YouTube and TikTok. So it's one thing I'm learning is you have to just start where you're at. And figure out the details along the way. I get that. You will miss out on so much waiting until the perfect time to start. And in reality, you'll find that a lot of times you have what you need. in that moment.
You do.
And it's just like, as you continue, you know, you grow, and then maybe you have more money to back things up with, but you just, you have to start where you're at. It's a craft, it's a journey, and there's never going to be the perfect moment to start other than right now.
Y'all heard that? Ooh, you speaking today. Great tips. We haven't even got to her 3 STEM tips. This is just gems along the way. So just start where you are. I mean, I'm learning with trial and error through this. So yeah. Well, great. Thank you, Aliyah. That's super inspiring, super helpful for those that may be where you were just in August of 2023. So Aliyah, have you been involved in any initiatives or programs to encourage women or underrepresented groups to pursue STEM fields?
Yes, so I have been in quite a lot of nonprofit organizations. Over the few years, I have been an active member in NSBE, which is the National Society of Black Engineers, and I know I probably threw that term around and did not explain it at all. Yeah. As well as BEC, which is the Black Excellence Council. I'm also a member of Black Girls Code, which I'm really excited to get more acclimated with. We took a pause for 2024, so 2025 will be kicking off the year. So I'm excited for that because I'll actually be one of their technical instructors. So I will be tasked with training girls from 7 to 18 with coding. So I can't wait to give back, because what I've noticed is that when I'm volunteering for some of the other schools, that some of the students' parents are engineers, CEOs, versus for a lot of people who look like us, we don't get that visibility at such an early age. So to be able to be a part of an organization where I can teach young girls STEM is really exciting. So I can't wait to see what we do for 2025. And the Women Impact Network. And in that organization, I actually was able to come up with a male ally role, because I think it's really important to kind of, in these women-led organizations, so also sometimes we do need some male perspectives on some things. And sometimes those orgs are still inclusive to men. So I thought it was really important to get that.
I'm glad you spoke on allyship. I think allyship is very important. Actually, so this, even though we focus a lot on women in STEM and minorities in STEM, I am going to do a men in STEM series this summer, so tune in for that. But I think it's important because there are people in the workplace that are allies for women in leadership and women in these high platforms to make those decisions. So with those conversations, we talk about how women impacted their journey and just how you can be an ally even though you're not a woman in STEM. So I think allyship is super important. So thank you for touching on that. So next I want to talk about, how do you see the field of artificial intelligence evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yes, so honestly, I have no clue. I know it's going to be big because we've already made such huge improvements over the few years. And so I know like something that they've been talking about, because you know with autonomous cars, they're talking about making smart cities. Because you know you need smart roads and all different kind of things to help those vehicles be fully autonomous. So it'll be really interesting to see if our intelligence just across the world increases, like, and us be having these smart cities and smart homes. I think that'd be really cool. So I'm excited to see that.
That's great. Thank you. So now I want to ask about your overall journey. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your STEM journey? I know you've touched on some things, but give us a shot at what you would change, if anything.
So what I would change really maybe is more from 2 things. I would say undergrad, I didn't have any mentors, so I definitely would have made sure I had more mentors, and I would have spoke more to my professors. You never know what kind of opportunities your professors have. Sometimes our professors have research opportunities, and some of them are connected with different corporations. So I think talking to your professors and actually forming a relationship with them can open a lot of doors that I wasn't aware of. And then also being a part of NSBE as well as SWE and maybe IEEE in undergrad would have definitely helped me.
What does SWE stand for?
SWE stands for the Society of Women Engineers, and then I forgot what IEEE stands for.
That's okay. Well, we'll put it in the show notes, but just for those that don't know. Yes, thank you. That's really good.
And then I forgot this one. For my career, maybe it's not necessarily that I wouldn't have done differently, but I will say what I thought would be the case, what wasn't the case, is that I thought that my niche was kind of gonna like just fall in my lap. And for some people it does. Like for some people, they can graduate college, go to a job and get into a job and love it, and
Yeah.
then be like, okay, this is what I'm going to make my niche in. This is where I'm going to build that expertise.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I was constantly placed on teams where I didn't like what I was doing.
Right.
And so I had to advocate for myself. And so that's one thing, a lesson that I learned that I'm proud of for doing, is you have to speak up for yourself in your career, because these corporations will place you where their need is. And sometimes the corporation's need doesn't align with your need. So being able to identify what it is that you want to do, even if it's just something that you want to try, I think is really good. So that way, when your company is making decisions, they're making decisions that might be in alignment with what you want. But if you can't articulate what you want and people don't know what you want, they will place you anywhere. So I think being very proactive and kind of making it known with your management and your leadership, this is what I'm trying to do, because then they will naturally put you into those opportunities when they arise.
I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So another question I have before we close out with your 3 tips for success is, what advice would you give to young engineers or students who are interested in pursuing a career in artificial intelligence?
So I will say one thing, especially if you're going to go down the school route and get a degree in engineering, you definitely want to make sure that you have a strong background in math and science, because you do have to take quite a few math courses depending on what discipline you're going through with engineering. And I know there are classes that I guess some people might refer to as like leaders, maybe,
Okay.
to where they're there because what you can tell is with engineering, a lot of people hear that you make a lot of money as an engineer, right? And you do. I'm not going to sit here and say you don't. However, some of those leader courses are meant to knock out the people who are just there for the money, because those are hard classes. In some of those classes, you're limited to how many attempts that you can take. So for me, that class was Circuits 1. And so Circuits 1 determined whether you're going to be a computer engineer or a computer scientist for your degrees, because you can only fail twice, and that was it with circuits. And that instructor made that class very complex, so we would have to do 4-hour study sessions almost daily in order to pass circuits. And so yes, it's a lot, but to me it goes to show who really wants it compared to who's just in it for the money. Because when you're in that career and in that job, you're gonna have projects that require you to really focus. And so I think that's what I like the most about engineering, is the problem solving complex. So I love to solve problems.
Well, thank you. And to close out today, my last question is, what are 3 tips for success in navigating the STEM industry? Basically your STEM journey.
So 3 tips. Number 1, I would say, is to know what you want, because no one can help you if you don't know what you want, right? So the first thing is you have to know what you want. You have to have some kind of a vision. It doesn't matter how you're going to get there or how you're going to make it happen, because that stuff you figure out along the way, but you at least need to have an idea of what you're interested in. I think that's the first step. And then the second step is you have to speak up and advocate for yourself, because you're going to be put in places and situations. And so it's very important that if it's something that you're not happy with, speak up, because people can't read your mind. So if you don't tell people that you don't like something, they don't know. So you have to speak up and be willing to stand up for yourself, because when you know what you want, then I feel like it's easier for you to speak up for yourself. So
yeah.
And for the third tip is to not allow rejection to define you. Even till this day, with all of the qualifications that I may have, I still get rejected. And so I don't take rejection personally.
That's good.
And like they say, not to put all of your eggs in one basket. So I feel as though what kind of helps rejection be easier to manage is the fact that I apply for so many opportunities constantly, to where if I get that no, I probably within a week received a yes elsewhere. So I think constantly putting yourself out there in a vast like variety of places will really help you not take that one no personally. And think about it, if it's something that you really want, let's say maybe for example you want to work at a huge tech company, just because you got that one rejection, the company doesn't magically disappear because they told you no.
Yeah.
The company still exists. You can apply again. You can get the feedback, and you can improve whatever skill set that you may have potentially been lacking, and just do better the next time.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. So I think knowing how to handle rejection is really important, because engineering is not easy. And being that it's I think less than 3% of black engineers in the industry, you're going up against a lot of odds. So if you can't handle rejection, you're going to be limited with how far you can go.
Well, thank you, Aliyah. Those were excellent tips for success. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. Aliyah, thank you for joining us today on All Things STEM with Ashley. We appreciate you. Everyone, please make sure you watch this episode, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.